The Play Absolutely podcast with Dr. Sue Jennings and Dr. Andy Hickson.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Play Absolutely podcast. And today is National Play Day all over the UK. I am delighted to welcome Marianne Malnello to the Play Absolutely podcast. Marianne is Assistant Director for Play. Assistant Director for Policy, Support and Advocacy at Play Wales. And she's spent over 30 years championing children's right to play. She brings a wealth of experience, insight and passion into the subject. And, well, we're really looking forward to speaking with her. Marianne, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for taking time out in what must be a tremendously busy day for you today.
It was a busy day. So as you've mentioned, it's National Play Day. It's a UK day, which has been established now. It's in our 39th year. So next year is a bit of a milestone. Yeah, 39th year. And on that day, lots of things happen. And across Wales, we'll have local authorities, councils, very small organisations hosting events to highlight the importance of play. So I've managed to get to 4 today, sandwiched in between some radio work, which was really nice. And as I said, they are going on over across Wales, gently trying to remind people how important playing is generally to children's health and well-being and a happy and healthy childhood. But then also, alongside those, as children are playing today and having an absolutely fantastic time right across Wales, is having those gentle discussions to say we need to nurture play every day. We need everyday playful moments for children.
We do.
National days of recognition are really, really important, and they help to highlight that. But our job is to make sure that it doesn't stop at today at 1 or 2 or 3 or whenever. It didn't start at 10 or 11 or 12. It started probably the minute little feet touched the floor, or even before that this morning. So
Marianne, let me just briefly stop you there, because my co-host has arrived. Dr. Sue, I know you've been having lots of issues today.
Huge
with
technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties, but you're here. That's the main thing.
I'm here.
I've just introduced Marianne Malnello, and we've literally only just started speaking, so you haven't missed anything yet.
But what I loved hearing was Marianne saying we should do something playful every day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, Marianne. Let's see how the conversation goes.
Sure.
I've got a few questions to start us off, let's explore. And of course, if you want to ask Dr. Sue or myself anything at all, please do so as well. I think all three of us are great champions of play and recognise the importance of play in day-to-day life. Not just with children, but also with adults. So my first question to you, Marianne, is this is the theme for National Play Day, what does play here, there, everywhere mean in practical terms for children in Wales? What does that mean to them? Play here, there and everywhere.
Well, it means that, children need to have access to playful moments every day, right? In living rooms, in school gates, in lanes behind houses where lanes are still existing. Children say they like to play in those places, in neighborhoods. So those playful moments, small opportunities to play, and as I said, both at the home, in the home, on the move, they make such a significant difference to children's life. And for children in Wales, it doesn't need, children everywhere, and we know this when we see children playing globally, they don't need expensive toys. They don't need a jam-packed schedule of activity after activity after activity. As much as they like that, Now, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, children love the opportunity, modern children are afforded a lot of opportunities to take part in activities, some which are costly, others which aren't, but still take away time for child-led play. And as much as those are a great asset to children's life, they should be part of the mosaic. It shouldn't be that or that.
Right.
Children's lives are very much a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, so a little bit of running, a little bit of jumping, a little bit of laying in the grass, looking at the clouds, a little bit of uniformed organization, a little bit of sport tuition, some swimming lessons, all of maybe playing a musical instrument, learning a new craft. All of those are important to children's health and well-being, but importantly, that child-led play of everyday adventures can be very, very low cost for children to make the most of their opportunities to play. And there's loads of examples and memes around the cardboard boxes and all, how children find value in everyday items. And that hasn't changed through generations of children. I've just watched today through my visits across across Wales, children making fun out of the tiniest little things that were made available. It's also, in terms of what it looks like for children in Wales, we need to be thinking about what our neighborhoods look like, thinking about how children get from one place to another. Is the journey to school from home as playful as it can be? Does it encourage creativity? Does it encourage inquisitiveness? That's hard when parents are busy. I can remember that walk actually, the walk home from school was where we would have our, we would follow the slugs or climb on walls because I had more time after school, like most parents in Wales, that actually, getting kids, dropping and dashing at the school gate was a real, what drives a lot of us, really, doesn't it? Whereas, so thinking just about how we can make those everyday journeys more playful, because then when children are out in their neighborhoods more often, the other adults living in those neighborhoods get used to seeing children around. They get used to the presence of children. The children have legitimate um, place in that bit of public space, which may be right outside front doors. It might be in a park. It might be in a common. It might be on a train platform. It may be in a bus shelter. All of these, when we see that playful imposition that children have, they are naturally have a playful disposition. And so, and that doesn't stop. I think also, you and Dr. Sue will know this, it doesn't, playing doesn't stop. At a certain age. You mentioned a bit about adults in the introduction. I mean, our work is primarily for children, but of course, as mammals, humans have a long childhood specifically to allow us to play. We children have that disposition to be playful when the conditions are right, and the conditions are good enough space, having enough time, and having the freedom to lead their play. And that doesn't stop at nursery, obviously. I mean, I think that's well understood. It's well understood, children playing right up until probably primary school. But, teenagers play too. Teenagers are playful. They need to play. They are as wired to play as our babies, toddlers, and younger children. And so, what Here, There, and Everywhere looks like as well is children of different ages playing together. That's, if I had, if I started with, and I very often start with it, I would ask Dr. Sandy and Sue, what are your play memories? And many of us will remember playing with groups of children of different ages. It was very much a culture of our childhood. Certainly my play memory is, I didn't just play with 5-year-olds when I was 5. I played with 9-year-olds when I was 5. And so that culture of playing, such an important part of the culture of childhood, was kind of handed down in that way. We learned the rules of play. We learned, nobody taught us how to play hopscotch or how to do a skipping game or a clapping game. We watched the older children. So we, that was assimilated, that sort of opportunity to learn, to be creative. But also gave older children permission to play, because they
Yeah,
still
yeah, that's
want
a good
to.
point.
That so when we have 11 and 12-year-olds playing alongside 4, 5, and 6-year-olds, they tend to be able to rub together if
Hmm.
the space is right, if the conditions are right, and I think that's really, really important. So that bit about here, there, and everywhere, it means places that allow children of different ages to play alongside. I call it intra-generational.
Okay.
There's a real there's a real tendency to talk about intergenerational stuff. Learning from our elders,
Mm,
really, really important. But that's something else
absolutely.
that achieves other aims for both age groups of for adults alongside children. Children can learn a lot from their elders and vice versa. But this
Mm.
ability to be able to provide opportunities for children right through the age range is so, so important.
Fabulous. What a great answer. And I was really pleased to hear you mention a couple of times about children-led play. So, self-directed play,
Yeah,
children leading the play rather than adults organizing it for them. And yes,
yeah,
I think that is such an important thing. But it's something that a lot of adults have difficulty with, just to let children play or play with children on children's own terms rather than make it the adults' terms.
yeah.
So I suppose the next question is, what do you hope that this day, this National Play Day, and of course you've had experience of play days before, what do you think it's going to achieve beyond giving children an enjoyable day, one enjoyable day?
Yeah, yeah. So I think what it achieves, because a lot of the play day events are aimed
Hmm.
at families. They are they're
Okay.
in destination. Now there's a lot of things, a lot of play day celebration. Play day is celebrated in childcare settings. So there will be a lot of places across Wales where children will be in some sort of childcare setting today, or facility, or an activity based clubbing. We would hope that those practitioners are celebrating play, doing something just maybe just a little bit differently.
Hmm.
Those children should be getting rich play experiences anyway, because they are in settings where there should be a play work approach to supporting
Right.
children play. So those children should be getting it anyway. So on a national play day, what we would hope in those sorts of places, is, or for instance in hospitals, where children will be playing every day in hospitals as well, but maybe just something a little bit different just to mark the day. But then also have it, using that as an opportunity for settings practitioners to promote play beyond that setting as well, to remind parents as, oh, we've done this today because it's play day, and here's some
Hmm.
helpful hints on how you can do something on the weekends when you've got a bit more time.
Hmm.
And then at these events, though, that are more aimed very much at families, caregivers,
Okay.
because they today's events that I visited were all outside, and which is where they would traditionally, ideally be.
Nature play.
And it just helped. Well, it's just, I think I've worked with children for a long time, and I just feel that when we're outside, um, everybody's mood is just a little
Mm,
bit, there's just more space to be.
Hmm.
There's less
Absolutely.
mm,
things to argue over. Okay. In inside, there's probably 3 hula hoops, 2 cones, and a beanbag, maybe, for 20 children. I'm simplifying this.
Hmm.
Outside, if somebody has a stick, there's likely another 20 somewhere. But in
Yes.
these events as well, in these play day events, there's a lot of stuff going on. So I was watching children build dens, and then the same group of children, 4 of those children kind of splintered off and just had an impromptu game of tug of war because there was a bit of rope there. So they made, so it was just about, oh, this is what we can do with it. It was allowed. There were, because these are run by play workers or play work organizations, play teams, they can have gentle discussions with parents then who are worried. If that, because parents will say, oh, I don't know if they're allowed. Firstly, it's, I don't know if they're allowed to do that. I don't know what other parents are going to think of me if I let my child take part in this tug of war. What's
Right.
what's Deborah going to think about me, who, the play worker,
Yeah.
if I've got this tug of war? What if somebody gets hurt? And so the play workers can gently say, let's watch this.
Mm-mm.
Let's just take a step back. Let's reflect. We'll get involved if they ask us to get involved. We'll get involved if we see that it's stopping fun for somebody. And that's the role of an adult, really, is to jump in when they need to. But it's hard
Okay.
to watch. It's, I think for all of us, for adults, even for play workers, it's hard to watch when children are struggling with something. But it's that very
Mm.
struggle that builds resilience. That we'll talk about that in a moment, I would imagine. But back to these play
Mm.
day events in terms of what they can achieve. It's because they've got large scale things, is parents can naturally get involved and still let their children play. So they're able to see that their children are capable. So for instance, there were 2 or 3 events that I visited today that had cardboard cities, so children making big things out of cardboard. And
Okay.
that's naturally something that they'll need a little bit of, some children will need a little bit of help with. It's an activity that appeals to um, kind of all parents, so it's something that will appeal to parents of different genders, for instance, of being able to build and being able to destruct whatever. I've seen children building hammocks in trees. So just
Brilliant.
that gentle, with somebody there who knows what they're doing, somebody there who knows about not building, who will have tested the tree before they even put
Mm.
that stuff underneath it. I want to reinforce that, these events are operated by people who know what they're doing. That, they're
Yeah.
skilled. They're skilled in terms of facilitating children's play, but they're skilled in being able to identify the benefits to something alongside the risks and any potential harm. So their key role is to
Okay.
mitigate against that. But because
Mm.
of because of
Mm-mm.
that outdoor nature. So, the thing is if kids are playing and there's not enough hammocks to go around, nearby there's a bubble solution, or there's a mud kitchen, or there's a big parachute, or so there's lots of things. So I literally, on my last event, I was talking with some people who work in early years and parenting support
Mm.
for one of the local councils here in Wales, and I said, I've been to 4 events in 4 very different parts of South Wales. I need to add,
Okay.
I heard very little crying. I heard very little arguing. I heard very
Mm.
little coercing away from something or coercing towards something. It was, I mean, I'm making it sound joyful because
Yeah.
it just enabled people. So parents were watching their children do things they may not have done before, immediately
Mm.
helping children to, helping them to see what their children are capable of. The sector I work for is a play work sector. One of our core principles is that we believe that children are competent when the conditions are right, when they're well supported. We need to trust children. Um,
Yes.
but but when when you're a parent with 4 children under the age of 6 and they want to go in different, it's hard. It's not, so I don't want to make it sound easy, but it's
Mm.
possible and it's important. And one of the things that you mentioned, that I'm from Play Wales, we have a website called Playful Childhoods, which is particularly aimed
Okay.
at parents and caregivers. And
Oh.
bilingual, there's bilingual sites as well, and those have kind of helpful hints, top tips. You won't find 10 things to do with a egg box on there, for instance, but what you will find is things like, um, why does my children um, want to rough and tumble? Why does my
Right.
children, how can I support my children to play with the elements? Playing
Mm.
outside in all weathers, playing in the dark, those sorts of, how doing things with large groups of children, doing things with different
Mm.
children of different age, advocating for play. So, we want to ensure that parents feel as well supported as children do as well, because they have such an important role to play. They're the gatekeepers to children's play.
Yeah.
And it's, and they're doing, and they're in a goldfish bowl. They're constantly being, if you're the first parent that allows your child to walk to school on their own, it feels scary. It feels wobbly. It's
Always
very
does,
hot,
still does.
yeah, yeah, it is, and that feels, it feels like you're constantly being judged. We get so much information as well, parents about, read to your child, give your child 5 of this, give your child 3 of this, do this at least 3 times a day. There's a lot of information, and I think for all of that information, if we take it we pare it right down to making sure that children have opportunities for that free play when they can, then it
Okay.
tends to satisfy some of those other requirements in
Mm.
terms of being active in particular, and mindfulness and well-being. It will stem from a sense of achievement that playing brings, that that flexible thinking, that creative thinking. All of the evidence reinforces that playing contributes to problem solving, creativity, and
Absolutely.
then that just mushrooms into this resilience. And when we stop children from playing, even if it seems to come from a good place, we're just impacting on their ability to bounce back, roll with the punches. Through play, children will make sense of the world. They'll learn how
Mm.
high to climb. They'll learn how fast to run. How whether or not they can balance on one leg or on a wall or need 2 legs. And those are really, really important things to do. And most children, I mean,
Okay.
you'll know this from your work, most children don't overstretch themselves or push themselves beyond their capability unless they are damaged. I mean, there will be children who are, particularly living in challenging, toxic,
Conditions. Yeah.
adverse conditions. We understand
Mm.
that, but for the majority of children, they will climb as high as they feel capable of. They will run as fast as they feel capable of. They will, they really do, they're pretty good at that. They're
Mm.
not instinctively um, wired to damage themselves. Generally, I
Yes,
think.
no, absolutely. I want to bring Sue in
So yeah.
shortly, but I just wanted to just comment on what one thing in terms of the events that you talked about. Now, for those, and I don't know whether you looked at any of the our previous episodes. One of the things we do in each episode is do what we call play in the news. So different kinds of play events or things playful have happened in the UK and abroad. One of the things that I wanted to do for today's podcast was to highlight a few of the playful events happening around not just Wales but the UK.
Yeah.
And it sort of links to what was going to be my second question to you in that Wales, I think, is certainly seen as a world leader in recognizing the child's right to play. When I went on, so before I went on the Play Wales website, I went on the national UK website, and I'm sure you're aware it's a bit confused. I think it went down for a while. There was a temporary site put up for a while.
Yeah.
But even now, it shows everything. Well, actually, it shows stuff from 2025 and also stuff from 2018.
Yeah.
So the only way I could actually find out stuff was to go to the Play Wales website, which is brilliant. It's actually the best, in my opinion, of all the Scottish, the English, or the Irish one. And I think the English one, at the moment, I think it needs a lot of work. I don't know what's happened there. Are you able to fill us in on any of that? Or
So a few things. I mean, Play Day, UK's Play Day, is coordinated by the 4 national play organisations. So that would be Play Wales and our sibling organisations. So you've mentioned Play England, Play Scotland, Play Board Northern Ireland as well. And a lot of the activity is on top of the other activities that we do. As organisations, our resources and capacity differs greatly as well. So what basically the Playday website is just got a bit old. Just to answer that very specific question. So for a couple of years, and keeping on top of the events page of that was very problematic because we were very reliant on people giving us the right information. So a couple of years ago, and And things have evolved as well in terms of how people find out their information now. And what we found by engaging with some parents and caregivers is that a lot of people were turning more towards social media to find out about events such as play day events. And that's where
Okay.
a lot of people were finding out. So if they live in Merthyr Tydfil, for instance, they'll follow Play Merthyr Tydfil, and that's where everything about their play day event, which I visited today, was on.
Gotcha.
Very
Gotcha.
local organizations, likewise, will use local bits. Now, for Wales, what we did is our events, the play day events that we've heard about. So we have a network of play day organizers, and we keep in touch with them. We send a template out and ask them if they'd like to share their event. Not everybody does, again, because not for the very local neighborhood events. They're not intended to be large scale drive-to sort of things. They're for neighborhood children to play in. But those that want to advertise, we advertise them on that Playful Childhood's website, because that is our website aimed at parents. And so all of our social media was
Okay.
signposting people towards that website. So for this year, you're right, we had the Playday website was down for a bit. All of the login details got a little bit lost over time,
Right.
and
Right. Okay.
between our comms manager, our communications managers across the national organizations kind of pitched in and redeveloped something. So it was kind of a temporary website for people to go
Okay.
to. So that's why
Okay.
that you will have had to, it's just quite a
Mm.
technical logistical answer to something. And
No,
yeah,
that's
and as such, those nations all have different policies around children's play. Play has devolved, so it's not a UK government um, um, responsibility. So it's devolved to Wales. It has been since the Senate
mm.
was established in over 25 years ago now. So so it is
And Wales
devolved. So
remains the champions.
well, Wales, we were the first to legislate for children's play. The Welsh government was the first government in the world to legislate for
Brilliant.
children's play. It has a very play-based approach. Traditionally
Mm.
has had quite a rights-based approach to its policy making
Okay.
for children, which is really important to
Mm.
recognize. And from the very early days of the Senate, there's been this nod and commitment towards social justice.
Mm.
And so I think that there's things like that, and every country will move at different paces in terms of the legislation framework. And so getting new legislation is tricky, and so you take the chances when you can take them. Scotland now has place efficiency legislation as well through
Ah.
planning policy. So there's place sufficiency assessments on, and it's quite a spatial duty. And Wales's duty is kind of looks at that breadth of places where children play. So local authorities, the duty is on local authorities, on councils, to assess for play every 3 years,
Right.
and then to develop play action plans. And those sufficiency assessments look at kind of some of the things that I talked about earlier. How do children get around what's available in neighborhoods for,
Yeah.
play activities, play opportunities, provision, play spaces. But then how do children get there? How are the staff qualified? Are there quality assurances in place? Then it looks at schools, and
Right.
so it's a
Yeah.
very broad piece of legislation. But it's one we're proud of. Um, it doesn't mean it's great for every child in Wales. I think that's really important to recognise. That
Mm-hmm.
would be nice if it had achieved that. But the fact that we have a national government that over years has said um, play play is valued for and what they're measuring, in the past, what the government was measuring was that more children were playing more often and reporting better satisfaction with their opportunities to play. And so our call on,
Right.
subsequent governments is to ensure that those messages are sustained, because they're really important. And we can see that through these events that I've attended today. You can see just the
Mm.
recognition about how important playing is is really high in Wales. I think it's something you should be proud of. I am.
Well, yes, yeah. Well, I am too, living in Wales. Can I bring Sue? Sue, have you got anything that you'd like to comment on or ask so far?
Well, it's very difficult because I can't see you both. I can only see the poster.
Oh, right. Yes. Well, we can see you, but actually, I'm looking across at the YouTube feed, and yeah, you seem not to be there, but we can hear you, and hopefully when the
Yes, well, I think it's a wonderful exposition about what is going on in Wales. And I just wanted to add to it a little bit from me about my particular interest is in starting from pregnancy and encouraging pregnant women to become playful before the baby's even born.
Yeah.
So I think that's an area where we could run workshops and support people in antenatal clinics and so on.
Yeah. So we have one of our most recent information sheets is called Play in the First 1,000 Days. And it talks about that.
I can see you now.
Good. So this is something that we've been kind of concentrating on recently is raising the profile of the importance of play in the first 1,000 days and trying to promote that message to those practitioners who are working with parents in pregnancy and soon after birth. So it's an information sheet that talks about the science. It talks about why playing is important, but then it talks about the sensory system and attunement and all of those very, very important bits of the early years system. But
could I just ask you a question?
Yeah.
And have you found that some parents think that because you can play computer games, that's enough, and it's like a re-education, that play needs to be with people?
Yeah. So I think what we're finding from most parents is they're stuck. These screens have evolved. These devices have come into our lives. We're all become much more digital. We have the way that we use the digital space has changed considerably over the years. I mean, gosh, 10 years ago we wouldn't be doing this, would we? Maybe not. So I think it's what parents are saying is I need help to manage this, and that's understandable because it's grown so much. It changes almost weekly, doesn't it? It changes almost monthly, and so what we try to say to parents, and even those that would consider themselves digitally aware and digitally active, is embrace this bit of, if you're worried about the digital space, ask your children about it. I mean, I'm talking about older children now, and a bit, but certainly, we're quite clear for very young, for babies and young children, is that we wouldn't want to be seeing screen. We agree with all of the evidence and all of the advice around play for babies and toddlers, and try to and if for very young children, when screens are being used, then it's for something as you mentioned, with people. So maybe watching something together, talking to grandma on FaceTime, looking at family photos. All of our photos are on a phone now. So it's really difficult, isn't it? It's not the same as opening a photo album. And so we need to. I think we need to be careful that we're not. We're not conflating everything that children do in the digital space into one bit. Obviously, there's some real issues around social media and how that impacts on children's well-being, particularly for teenagers. And we would, we want to keep a watchful eye on that. But then for other children, and one thing, is that when we talk with children or when we analyze the survey work with children, they're not asking for more device time. They are asking for more opportunities to play, meet up with friends. Friends remain important and have a presence in in their neighborhoods. They want more opportunities to play outside. The most recent surveys that we did, and we analyzed them last summer. And when children, the majority of children are still responding that their favorite place to play is outside. But when we dig a bit deeper and say, well, where is that? For a lot of children, it tends to be their garden or a friend's back garden. Now, that raises concerns for us as an organization. We want to see children in the front of their houses, part of their neighborhoods, and having that legitimate place and sense of belonging in the places where they live. Also recognize that not all children growing up in Wales have access to a private garden either. So if that is seen as a place, a key place where children can play, then that has implications then beyond kind of this very local neighborhood. So for our policymakers, our planners, is what are we building for children to play here? Or with our local schools, if there are children growing up without access to a private garden or some sort of private space to play, what space is available there? What opportunities what can be better utilized? So I think as I said, that what children are asking for quite reasonable things. More opportunities to play more often. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Just on that point, Marianne, what do you think is currently some of the greatest barriers to children's play? I mean, the things that come to my mind immediately are sort of like poverty, traffic, school pressures, adult attitudes, lack of space, or no ball signs, or is it something else?
No, so it's all of that. It's all of that, and it's the predominance of it. So some of those issues have been present in children's lives since we were younger. We will have learned to, we would have had to navigate busy streets, but they have become busier. So children tell us that the thing that most impacts on their opportunities to play tends to be traffic. So busy streets, speed involved, and parked cars too. Because that immediately encroaches on where children might have played, particularly in some of our neighborhoods that weren't built for 3 or 4 cars in a family home. Parents report, and so children report traffic and parental fears. Parents report traffic and strangers. But when you unpick that bit about strangers, most what it tends to be is people they don't know. So, we will, particularly in new neighborhoods, or when people are new to a neighborhood, that, if we're not learning about, who lives next door to us or in our street, then that's the bit that people don't know. So they don't know what the local rules are about where to play. There may be a bit of empty space where children could play, but nobody knows who owns it. So those are the way in which our neighborhoods are designed and growing. So you mentioned poverty, and I think poverty is an important thing to consider. But sometimes children living in areas that might be seen as being less affluent are also living in communities where playing has taken place over generations. So they may, you may find that the children are playing out more often there, if you like, because the parents grew up there and know that playing was okay. The grandparents say, there are almost 3 generations of playing children, and there's 3 generations of somewhat tolerant adults. We don't have the same amount, that grumpy grown-up sort of thing. So it's not, I'm making it sound idyllic. I don't, but what I want to say is that, that when we think about poverty, we need to be thinking about poverty of experience as well. And yes, so for children living in extreme poverty, it's a real concern, because then parents are drained, and that energy, when we say parents can do a lot to support children's play, and you can do things with low cost ideas and everything else, you've got to have the mental energy to be able to do that. And when you are scraping by, it's really, really important. So we're really concerned about that, but we're also concerned about children who their lives are so overstructured, if you like, that they then have a poverty of opportunity to play.
Of
And
course.
it's equally concerning, really. All children need to play. There's no doubt about it. But when children are living in times of uncertainty and stress, it's really, really important. It really
It is. So,
builds resilience.
in terms of, so we know that the fears of of some parents and some children, maybe most, we don't know.
Yeah.
What, separate from that, what do you think that sort of councils and schools and other organisations that work with children, how can they meaningfully involve children in decisions about play, rather than what I experienced growing up, and what certainly my work with a lot of young people, they say often is that they're only consulted after decisions have been made, and not about when decisions or before decisions are made. So how do you think that the organisations, the councils, and some of the schools can involve them in that process?
So I mentioned some survey work. So I think and surveys are limited. Don't get me wrong, they're not the be all and end all, but they're a reasonable starting point. In the surveys that the councils in Wales do for their for their statutory play proficiency duties, ask children about their opportunities to play. They don't ask them about what they want. They ask them about what they like, what they do, how often they play out, who they play out with, do they feel safe, what stops them from playing, what helps them play better, play more, and then there's some qualitative questions about, what's the best thing about your favorite place to play, and what's the worst thing. And then through skilled eyes, analyzing that, children, and then working at a very local level. So I think, and then for children with some significant barriers to play, so perhaps disabled children, or children who are carers, or children with additional learning needs, maybe then doing some very small focus groups with them, finding out a bit more, but actually just finding out about needs and preferences. When we ask children what they want, they're limited by their experiences. It's a bit like giving them a toy catalog 3 months before a holiday or a birthday or some sort of ceremony. They're limited by what they know already. So it's really, I can't overemphasize this enough. If anybody working with children, even if they're not don't have a play work qualification, even if they don't consider themselves play workers, they need to have some understanding of children's play and be able to analyze that. Right now, because of the weather that we've been having, I would imagine if we said to children, would you like a swimming pool they're going to say yes.
Yes,
That's the
please.
reality. Yes, please. I want
I
one,
want one too.
I want one. But, it's just being realistic about what we can achieve. But local authorities, and schools will be the same. If, we just kind of say, just observe children. And that's kind of a bit, back to today's events, is putting things out and seeing what happens, non-prescriptive things. Not a lot of children are going to say, oh, you know what I'd like to do today? I want to build with some cardboard boxes, if they haven't had that opportunity. Because, so it's about being realistic about what children know. So they're very capable, very competent when those conditions of time, space, and
it's very true what you say there. I remember during COVID, that's one of the things we did a couple of times, is we had a lot of cardboard boxes, and one of the things I did was made slide down the stairs using the cardboard boxes. Great fun for a while, but it was only a month ago that one of my youngest was saying, oh, can we do that cardboard boxing again down the stairs? That was great fun. It's only because they had that experience that they knew to bring it up.
And I think I don't want to look back at COVID through again rose-colored glasses, and I do but there's a lot we can learn from that period of time. If go back to these playful neighborhoods where neighbors were present. I don't know if you remember, we were painting pebbles and hiding pebbles, and again I make it sound very idyllic, but we just had this time, and we had this recognition that everybody's mood needed to be boosted. So how can we boost people's mood? Oh, I know. Let's do something fun and playful outside. Yeah. And we can do it because there's fewer cars on the road, and they're not rushing from A to B because there's no A and B to go to. So I feel like it's not, again, I don't want to look at it. It was an incredibly stressful time. It will be a time that people um, remember with sorrow and pain. So I don't want to take away from that. But as at any point in history, and this was a major point of history, we should be learning from it. And the fact that
We should be.
we didn't, it saddens me a little bit, because I really thought we were going to. I was there thinking, right, we've turned a corner now. People have got used to driving, walking to the shops. People have got used to making do with what's on their doorstep. Like I said, I make it sound idyllic, but we've done it. I think this is the thing. We did it in really hard times for a lot of people. We rallied round. There was more chalk on pavements, wasn't there? There were little bits of blue rope in trees. So we know we can do it, right? And it's up to us as adults to do that. We can't rely on children. We can't blame children for being on devices if that's the only thing they've got available to them. I refuse to have children blamed for something that we have control over. Sorry.
Yeah, it's so easy to blame the children, and as adults, we often do it all the time. I'd like to give Marianne, I'd like to give you a little rest, and also Sue, an opportunity for you to think of any questions you'd like to ask Marianne from what she's discussed with us already. I'm going to go to our regular feature, which is just me. It's this week's Play in the News, and this is very much linked to National Play Day. So you might be able to comment on some of the events. So it's just really going to be about events that are happening today, but I'll also try to find a few events that are happening after today if people want to get involved in. Yeah. So it's this week's Play in the News. And as I mentioned, this week Play is very much in news today because Wednesday, the 5th of August, is National Play Day in the UK. The theme for this year, 2026, is Play Here, There, Everywhere. And it encourages communities to think beyond formal playgrounds and create opportunities for children to play in parks, museums, streets, and other everyday spaces. Here are some of the activities happening today and later this week that I've managed to find out. So in Wrexham, Queen's Square and Llwyn Isaf, I hope I pronounced that right, became a large free city centre play space. It finished at 4 p.m, I believe, but we saw water slides, paints, a giant sand pit, maze, craft, sports, and loose parts play. Sound brilliant. I'll be looking forward to hearing some feedback to anybody that went there. At the National Waterfront Museum in Swansea this year, it was Sea Spectacular, which included circus skills, a giant earth ball, parachute games, den building, crafts, characters, Welsh rhyme time, and live music. Now, importantly, this event began with a quieter hour from 10 to 11 for children who prefer less noise and stimulation. We often forget about that. In Barry, the Vale Play Team created, and you mentioned this already, Marianne, a cardboard city alongside den building, muddy kitchens, arts and crafts, and junk modelling in Gladstone Gardens. It was promoted as a free and inclusive community event for families of all ages. We move out of Wales, we go to London and Young V&A. That's the Victorian Albert, for those that are unaware. Children explored loose parts play, an inflatable playground, circus skills, animation, performance, and a design and parade activity. There were also quieter sensory theatre sessions with the fabulous theatre company Oily Cart for children who experience additional needs. But remember, play does not stop today. In Caerphilly, place very close to us, so I hope we're going to go down to it. They are holding its play day on the 7th, Friday the 7th, this week. This shows that celebration of play day does not have to be restricted to the official date. And also in Bath, again in England, the Bath Area Play Project continues with outdoor family play days tomorrow on the 6th, and again from the 10th to the 13th, I believe, of August, at different locations across Bath and North East Somerset. These include messy and creative play, den building, slacklines, environmental exploration, and opportunities for managed risky play, such as cooking over a fire pot. And coming to the end now, we've got 2 more in Swansea, which I've mentioned already, but it does continue after the 6th, after today. And Warwickshire, they've gone further, I think, than most by creating a whole summer of play campaign, and they're encouraging families and community groups, care settings and organisations to continue playing through outdoor adventures, storytelling, music, games, creativity and imaginative activities across the summer. So perhaps the real message of National Play Day is not simply that children should be entertained for an afternoon. It is that they need welcoming spaces, interesting materials, time, freedom and permission to shape their own play here, there and everywhere. That's this week's Play in the News. So, Marianne and Sue, what do you think of those? Have you heard of a lot of those already, Marianne?
Yeah, so I've been to a few of those. And I just want to reiterate, so a bit just to build on is most councils and then voluntary organisations in Wales as well have summer programmes of play. So I would encourage
Fabulous.
listeners, if they're interested in knowing what's happening, I would encourage people to look at social media.
Okay.
Predominantly Facebook and Instagram are used by local play teams, local play organizations. But
Right.
I'm aware, there are local authorities that have big programs every day, so some
Okay.
of them wouldn't have stopped that program today. They would have just done something a little bit different to mark the day if they have a very large program. But you mentioned the Vale of Glamorgan, for instance. They have a team of outreach play workers now that will work through the summer. They have a play team which is specifically aimed to support children with additional learning needs and
Okay.
disabled children. That one's in a community centre. So I would ask, really appeal to people to look at Wrexham you mentioned has a strong
Yeah.
play network. There are a variety of voluntary sector led organisations as well. Ramacan and Taff, for instance, has a range of very local play organisations. Merthyr Tydfil, again, I might have just mentioned that too. And then it's right across Wales with partners doing things with the resources that they've got available. So it doesn't look the
Yeah.
same everywhere. I think that's really important at the moment.
Okay.
We have a coherent understanding of how important play is right across Wales. But the opportunities will vary based on what resources are available, what capacity, the skills of staff, the experience of staff. But I think people are working towards a summer of play here in Wales as well. So I would really encourage it. If people are stuck and they don't know, please feel free to get in touch with Play Wales and we'll signpost you on. We
Okay.
don't provide
that's
any of these
brilliant.
opportunities, but
Yeah.
Wales is a small place and we have a really good understanding about what's happening. And if we don't know, we very often know somebody who does. So please, I think if you've been to an event today, take from it, the fact that playing is important every day, and not just in some of the big, destination places where some of the events have been. And
I
that,
think that's important what you say
yeah,
there
and
is
and
that go on.
Wrexham will remove that sand pit at some point over the next couple of days.
Okay.
It will have to. However, that doesn't mean that children shouldn't be able to go to that space and do other things, So
Or
I
the
think just
sand
be
reused somewhere
mindful.
else.
Yeah, the sand will go to one of its staff adventure playgrounds, I would imagine. But yeah, like anything, all things have a limited limited time scale. But these are kind of when they're there and that big boom of activity on today, it gently reminds people that these are public spaces that all of us should be able to use when we can. Here, there, and everywhere.
No,
Like you said.
that's brilliant. and I think what one of the things that is important, what you said there, is that people, apart from the Play Wales website, of course, which is nicely up to date, don't rely on the national play websites. As Marianne said, go to your local. So either your local council or just do a local search on social media for playful or play events that are happening locally, and they'll be coming up, won't they? Did you want
They
to come
will
in
be.
there, Sue?
Yes, indeed. Because at a very practical level, I think we have to acknowledge that the drought and the shortage of water has made a huge difference to play.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know that babies, small children, older children, that water is fundamental to their playing.
Oh.
And with hosepipe bans and the shortage of water, how do we deal with that?
Go to the sea.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think there's some real issues that the play sector will be looking at in terms of how we support children to be able to get outside in some of these extreme conditions, and one of the nice things about the places where I was today is that was well considered. So there was some natural shade. Very often, we've got, so we talk about what councils can do is look at the natural environment that you've got if you are building a designated play area. Is make sure you're using that natural environment with best effect. Don't take a equipped play area away from some natural shade. Because the children are using those places at the hottest points of the day as well, and they're places that are places that are retaining heat. So I think you mentioned, you said in one of the comments, Andy, you made
and also I think being able to go in nature,
yes,
into say wooded areas where there are small amounts of water but they're shaded.
Yes, yeah,
small streams, paddling pools.
Yeah,
within the forest area,
yeah,
I think is such an important thing. Also,
Bracken
being in a
beacons.
forest area, you can play even in the heat.
Yes, and I think the thing is too is to remember that in a lot of these areas, they are natural places to play. So I suppose the message to caregivers is if you are going to a country park or a natural play area, it doesn't need to. You don't need a designated place with a steel slide on it there that's facing the south. Don't go in there. Go, as you said, Dr. Sue. Find those little bits, and those exist. We have good spaces in our more urbanized areas as well. Yeah, find some of that place to look through bushes, to look through trees. It doesn't. That we would like to see more designated play areas becoming having more natural features to them. But we live in lots of us live in areas, even in very urban areas, that have access to some to the natural environment, and it's really important that we do our best to support children to make their way through that.
Before we draw this podcast to a close, we are live on YouTube right now, and I just we have a comment, so I'll just read out the comment. It's more of a question, so see if we can answer that. It's from Clive. Hello, Clive. This is his question, I think, or a statement. An all-party parliamentary group in play was only set up by the UK government in 2025, last year.
Yeah.
I have just been Googling this as you speak. I'm surprised it's only just been set up, but that's a start, he says.
Yeah.
So there is a group, which is good, an APPG on play.
So, that's a UK government. I think it's important to recognise that England had a play strategy, which was then disbanded in 2008, and then the all-party parliamentary group has been, as Clive has mentioned, recently established. It's looked at a range of issues, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens in England.
So is that just for England, the APPG, or is that?
Yeah. I mean,
it's not the whole UK.
No. So Play Wales has become involved because there will be issues that decisions that are made in Westminster that impact on children's lives in Wales. So while we're involved in that, we've been invited to be part of that.
Oh,
And
good.
yeah, and
Ooh.
here in Wales, while there wasn't a similar parliamentary group or a Senate Cymru group, there was a ministerial review of play between 2019 and 2023. So it was the government did an in-depth review on its policy making around children's play. So there's been kind of different traction in different countries, again based on lots of issues, capacity, who's making decisions. I mean, if people are interested, I would watch what's happening in England. Andy Burnham was one of the authors of that play strategy that I talked to you
Oh, he
about
was.
in a younger
Oh, interesting.
guide.
Okay.
So it's it's gonna be interesting times, I think, and we would we're very keen to support our English right across right across the world. We're
Yeah.
part of a global movement. It
Of
doesn't. We
course,
have an
yeah.
international play association. We have a branch in Wales called IPA Cymru Wales. So if people are interested in
Okay.
joining, lending your
Mm,
voice to a global movement for play,
mm,
get in touch with me. And I think watch the space in terms of what's happening right across. It's a really important time for play, and
mm.
for children. The importance again towards that happy and healthy
Brilliant.
childhood really recognized.
Brilliant to hear. Now we've gone past an hour. I am
Yeah,
conscious of your time, Marianne. Really appreciate it. What we do when we close our podcast is we offer out to our viewers a little playful activity, for a minute or so.
yeah.
That if they're feeling the blues, if they're feeling a bit depressed or anxious, something that might help them with that. So I'll go first. I'll give. You don't have to give one, but if you've got an idea, I'll give you an opportunity to think of one. Sue, the same. So I'll make a start with the playful activity, and then after the three of us have given our playful activities, we can then decide whether to close it then, say our final bits, or whether indeed you want to talk some more. That I'll leave that in your hands. All right. So the activity I'm gonna suggest for our viewers today. So if you're feeling the blues, feeling a little bit anxious, this this is kind of linked to National Play Day, that you can play here, there, and everywhere, even in your pocket, because I'm calling this activity the Pocket Play Day. So you choose any small object nearby, a spoon, a pen, or a key, a sock, or whatever. Now, for 1 minute, pretend that it's become something completely different. A spoon might be a microphone, or a boat, or a moon detector. Sort of move it around, give it a sound, beep, 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 or tell us one sentence about its adventure. Then finish by saying, play can happen here too. Now, the aim is not to force yourself to feel cheerful. It's simply to create one small moment of curiosity, movement, and possibility. So, what have you got for our viewers this week?
Sorry. Well, I was always very curious how teachers and parents spend a lot of time wanting children, to colour in a picture, but to keep it inside and not go over the edges and so on. But then they come to sort of play therapy, and the one thing they want to do is go beyond the edges and not do it. And I think there's a lot of significance to do with child's inner and outer control and their feelings that gets expressed through that. So what I'm saying to people was something that's just a fun thing and diverts away from feeling down and held in or controlled, is have any picture out of a colouring book in front of you. Could be a complicated mandala, or it could be an outline of a rabbit, whatever you want. but then to get your finger paints and deliberately don't paint inside the borders, but paint outside. And it's
what happens if you accidentally get it on the inside?
Well, get another colour then and do it again.
Right.
So it's deliberately breaking borders rather than controlling and holding them in.
Okay. Yeah.
Children get very stressed when they're asked to do that type of controlled painting.
They can do.
And goodness me, if you paint it the wrong colour, like one child had painted a snowman purple, and the teacher gave him a good ticking off because, snowman should be white. I mean, it was extraordinary.
Wow.
So break some of the painting rules.
Okay. Marianne, have you got anything for us?
I think I would just say if it's going to be something very quick and just find a mirror or a teaspoon or a saucepan and make some funny faces at yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you don't need,
Those are the kinds of playful things we forget.
Yeah, yeah. Or tonight when it gets dark, get a torch and do some finger paint. Those.
Oh, right,
Those are no, but I think yes. If on the spot, I would just go, do some funny faces.
No, I know. I did put you on the spot there, so I appreciate that you played along. So that was good. So before we do bring things to a close, then I'm just checking online. No, there's no more questions online. Sue or Marianne, is there anything else that you want to talk about, ask, or suggest?
No, just Andy. I would if people have been interested in anything that we've touched on today, I would encourage you to check the Play Wales website. As I said, we have a raft of information sheet there too. I touched on the Play in 1,000 days. There's a whole range of ideas there for parents of babies and young children to encourage play. Even from when through pregnancy, for instance, we have information sheets for old. Reminding ourselves that older children play too. So if you're a practitioner or an advocate for play, if you're looking for something local and you can't find anything online, as I said, we're not meant to be but I'm very happy to signpost people on. You
That's
can,
brilliant.
and on the Play Wales website has a link to local authority websites, and very often there's a social media link from there. But social media.
We will in the description leave a link to the Play Wales website anyway.
Yeah, and perhaps the Playful Childhood as well, I think, is a useful starting point for parents to
Play for Childhood.
Playful.
Okay.
I'll send you a link.
Oh, Playful Childhood.
Yeah, Playful Childhood.
Right.
Great.
And maybe
Thank
also the International Play. Is it the International Play Association?
International Play Association has branches right across the world, and it's the large of a large human rights institution.
Yeah. Brilliant. And of course, if people don't know, the right to play is enshrined in the rights of the child, the international rights of the child. So, I think is it 10 or 11? I'm doing that off the
31.
I'm saying 31. There we go. Good. I'm glad Marianne's here to correct with the correct information.
Yeah.
Sue, any last words before we sign off?
Well, it's been amazing to hear how widespread acceptance of play is across Wales. I think that's very inspiring, and I think our viewers will find that very inspiring too. So thank you for that, Marianne. And I shall certainly
Wales
look
leading
up
the way in play.
I shall certainly look up the notes about pregnancy play. Maybe we could, at some point, we could exchange some ideas.
Certainly, I'd welcome that.
Well, absolutely, and off camera, that will be something we'll discuss with Marianne, whether or not she'd like to come back, because I'm sure that we would both love to have her back. But yeah, we'll discuss that off camera. Something to look forward to for the future. Viewers, just before I sign off, if you've enjoyed today's episode, please drop us a like, subscribe to the channel. That always helps the algorithm. And Marianne, really, really appreciate your time. We've probably gone on longer than any of us thought that we would. Sue, great to chat with you again. Thank you for everything. And apologies around the tech issues. I should say that I don't know if we're going to see your image on YouTube, because we can't at the moment, Sue. But I will play around with the editing, try and ensure you're there. And for that, I will just end up by saying, don't forget to play.
Don't forget to play.
Play every day.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.